Alright, so obviously I was planning on going to Florida with the kids to race the Malibu at Immokalee. I had the car all cleaned up and I thought it was ready, but unfortunately I ran into a problem when I went out to the shop to fire it up and get ready to load it. It's making a strange noise from underneath the car that sounds like a broken flex plate. I figured the best way to get over my aggravation with the Malibu situation was a little bit of carburetor tuning therapy. And since the weather and the roads are nice enough today to take this Nova out and test it, I figure there's no time like the present to break out the screwdrivers and get busy. Plus, it helps to keep my mind off my frustrations.
So I've been working on this car a little bit today, working on the carburetor and some drivability issues. I had to make some adjustments to the choke. The choke was set way too rich when I first got here. It's always had a little bit of a lean spot on tip handle, so I opened the carburetor up today and took it apart, and I expected to find a 6.5 power valve in the Holly. That's typically what they come with right out of the box. But to my surprise, it had a 2.5 power valve in it. Well, a 2.5 power valve in this carburetor is going to make one incredibly bad lean spot, and that's pretty much what it had. I also noticed that the power valve had 2 gaskets, so that tells me that the carburetor didn't come that way. Based on my experience with this car, when it showed up here, it was running extremely rich at idle, and I suspect that somebody may have changed the power valve in it, trying to correct an overly rich idle condition, which was actually just a choke out of adjustment. So we just have to work through a few little things with it. It's got really good street manners. However, I noticed that when you shut this thing off hot, it tends to want to run on. All right, I'm just gonna pull over here real quick, and I'm gonna shut this car off, and we'll see if it does what it's been doing. And it's a pretty common thing, and I want to show everybody what I'm talking about in case you guys run into it. Hear that?
What we're dealing with here is a classic case of pre-ignition. Pre-ignition generally occurs when there's something in the combustion chamber that's glowing hot. One of the most common scenarios is for carbon buildup from on top of the piston or falling off of a valve to become a catalyst for pre-ignition. The super hot carbon acts as a glow plug in a diesel engine and can easily cause low-octane gasoline to ignite without an ignition system turned on. Another scenario is when the spark plug itself is overheated due to excessive ignition timing and/or a lean air-fuel mixture. And this is a scenario all too common with projected tip plugs in high-performance engines. Heat from the combustion process is absorbed through the spark plug and transferred to the cylinder head through the spark plug seat. The effective heat range of the spark plug can be altered by the length of the porcelain and the electrode. But if the spark plug becomes overheated, it literally acts as a glow plug in a diesel engine and can cause a multitude of problems, one being engine run-on. So what we have here is the perfect storm. Possible carbon buildup due to the choke being incorrectly adjusted, ultra-lean air-fuel mixtures during part throttle cruise due to an incorrect power valve, and likely having too much ignition timing in the engine because the vacuum advance isn't hooked up.
The main reason it has too much ignition timing in it is because the other day I made a change to the ignition timing just so that the car would move itself in and out of the garage without fouling the spark plugs. Like I said, part of that was the choke was out of adjustment. I adjusted that. But the vacuum advance needs to be hooked up on this for this distributor to work the way GM intended it to. So I don't have any vacuum tees at the shop, so I'm gonna run on down to Mark's and see if I can't pick some out of his shop and a little bit of vacuum line. And I'm gonna go ahead and hook up this vacuum advance.
With the vacuum advance unhooked, the engine didn't have enough ignition timing to idle properly. But by advancing the timing, I not only increased the ignition timing at idle, but overall. So once the advance weights in the distributor swing out, our overall ignition timing is way too far advanced.
What are you driving now?
That orange Nova.
Oh boy.
You want to come out here and see what I got going on?
I do.
All right, let's go.
All right.
So 572 crate motor right out of the box.
Nice.
But somebody's been in the carburetor. I'm working my way through the carburetor
A
thing.
little touch and go.
Yeah, I've got it pretty good, but the
Okay.
thing I notice now is the vacuum advance isn't hooked up. And in order to get it to run right, it's got too much timing in it overall.
Yeah.
So it wants to run on when you shut it off, and then it wants to kick back against the starter. So I'd like to hook up that vacuum advance unit and then dial back the distributor to turn the timing back so it doesn't kick and buck and, you know, doesn't try to run on when you shut it off.
Yeah.
You think you can hook me up with a vacuum tee and some vacuum line?
We can do that.
So I head inside and immediately start taking grief from thing one over paint on my Malibu.
It's not a complaint.
Okay. Listen, I've told everybody that car has the original paint,
Yes.
but not the hood.
Not the hood.
The hood, okay, Denny painted the hood,
Yes.
but you mixed the paint,
I did.
and it matches perfectly.
But Denny painted it really well too, because it even matches the thickness of the paint with the rest of the car on the mil spec at Jack's Wax.
Oh, you picked up on that, huh?
I did. I was like, oh.
So, thing one, Tyler would like to have credit for mixing the paint that matches the factory paint on my Malibu. Okay, we got that out of the way. Now, with that taken care of, I turned my attention to vacuum tees and vacuum lines for the 572. That looks like that might be too big.
Oh, no.
You don't think so?
Oh, no.
No?
No.
You know?
I know.
Okay.
It's perfect.
All right, well, give me some diagonal cutters, and we'll go piece this thing together in the parking lot.
All right.
Is it filming?
It's filming.
You sure?
It is. I hit the button and everything.
I'm putting you to work today.
I'm not used to this
All right,
stuff.
here we go. Is this the right size?
That's it.
You sure?
I'm positive.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
You sure?
Look at that.
Oh my God,
Look.
it is the right size.
It is. I told you.
Well, by
don't
God,
believe
you
the
pulled
parts
it off
guy.
this time.
Don't believe the parts
All
guy.
right,
That's
so let's cut that, and we'll put a T in there.
all right.
Although I didn't put this clear plastic nylon vacuum line
But
in there.
I like that.
No, I don't. Oh, Jesus
Stick your
Christ.
finger in there. Just put your
That's
finger
what
in
she
there.
said.
Oh boy. I didn't mean to go that way, so but that's all right. What happens at A1 stays at A1.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I think no.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah, it's going.
Yeah. You might.
This stuff's not really made for vacuum lines.
Yeah, no, it's like small engine stuff. Weed eaters.
Something.
Although that's not a weed eater motor.
I got that hooked up. Now let's see
Okay.
where it idles at for
All right.
RPM wise, because it was idling at 1500 RPM, which is too high. I bet you when I start it up now, it's going to idle even higher.
All right.
I need a block of wood.
You want me to hold it? Here.
Now that I've got the vacuum advance hooked up, I can turn the distributor clockwise, which will reduce the overall ignition time.
That sounds good.
But with the vacuum advance hooked up, the engine will have about the same amount of ignition timing as it did before at idle.
That sounds a lot better right
That
there.
does sound good.
Well, we'll see how it runs when I take it up the road.
All right.
Well.
Well.
Look at there.
Oh,
Look at that.
look at that.
You saved the day, Marcus.
Hey, that's what I'm here for.
Now, obviously, I haven't put a timing light on this thing yet, but I can still take it up the road and see if we have any drivability issues. Although with the vacuum advance hooked up and the timing retarded, the engine doesn't run on anymore and doesn't seem to be suffering from pre-ignition. And although we've solved those problems, we've picked up another one. Once the engine dips below 1300 RPM with more than 30% throttle input, the vacuum level drops to the point where the vacuum advance isn't advancing the timing enough, causing a terrible dead spot in the throttle, which is very, very aggravating, especially when cruising around slowly in fifth gear. So I took the car back to the house and put it away for the day and planned on working on it some more on Thursday. However, the roads are wet and the weather doesn't look good for the next several days for me to do any more drivability tuning. All right, guys, welcome back. So it's Thursday morning, and unfortunately, we've run out of carburetor tuning weather. The radar shows it's going to rain all day, and forecast shows it's going to rain for the next 2 or 3 days. So I do have some good news. Tyler DeSantis has bought a 70 SS Nova, like a nice original 70 SS Nova, and he's building a drag and drive style car out of it, and he's completely gutted the front end of this thing, removed the front subframe, removed the engine, transmission, and he doesn't want any of this stuff. He said to come and get it. So I also have found some parts in New Jersey for my Monte Carlo, a brand new grill, which is extremely hard to find, and possibly some other trim pieces. So I'm gonna make a trip of this. We're gonna take the dually, and I'm gonna run over to Long Island, New York, go see Tyler for the weekend, and Rooney, and maybe Petey Smallblock. We'll go over there and hang out with those guys. I'm gonna pick up this front subframe and the engine out of Tyler's Nova, and then on the way back towards home on Saturday, the plan is to stop by New Jersey, pick up this grill and maybe some other trim pieces from a Monte Carlo that I need. And then there's a no prep race at Maple Grove. Y'all want to go with me? So this is actually going to work out really good, I think, because I already had my bags packed and packed into the back of the dually in preparation for that trip to Florida. In fact, I just had the dually serviced with an oil change and all new filters, so the only thing left to do is top it off with fuel and stick it into the wind out on the interstate. And with both tanks full on the truck, I should be able to make it all the way to Long Island without having to stop. I had planned my departure time based on the traffic in New York City, but what I didn't plan for was a traffic jam as soon as I got on the interstate. Once I got past that burn-up semi on 70, it was pretty much smooth sailing all the way over to the West Virginia-Ohio state line. I chose to stay on 70 and go across the bridge and through the tunnel here in West Virginia rather than taking the outer belt at the Bel Air exit. I've always thought it was pretty interesting that there's people that live on top this hill right where 70 passes through the tunnel. Anyway, I passed through the West Virginia Panhandle into Pennsylvania and took the opportunity to film some of the other bridges in Bell Vernon on my way through. It's a really interesting area with the bridge across the river for cars and trucks and the railroad trestle that runs right next to it. Anyway, once I got through Bell Vernon, I took 70 over to the Pennsylvania Turnpike, where you basically pay through the nose to be able to make good time all the way across the state of Pennsylvania. Now, I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've ever made the trip all the way across this state taking the Turnpike, because I don't ever remember going through this many mountains and this many tunnels. I just hope this trip is more enjoyable than my last trip to Philadelphia and New Jersey. It's kind of an inside joke. Some of you will get it, and some of you won't. Anyway, I had the Duramax wound up pretty good and made good time all the way across Pennsylvania and then jumped on the New Jersey Turnpike to head northeast, only to pay another toll just to get across the bridge onto Staten Island. Up until this point, everything's going great. But after about an hour and a half or 2 hours of driving through highly congested, high-crime neighborhoods, I realized that in New York, zip codes are extremely important.
I'm literally in the hood.
The destination that my directions were taking me to was over an hour away from my actual destination, so I pulled over in what I hoped was a safe area and reset my destination coordinates. Now, some of you may find this hard to believe, but I planned on staying with Sean Rooney on Long Island. His dad actually owns the last house on the street right along the water. I woke up to an alarm Friday morning, even though I didn't set one. I was pretty well wore out after that long, somewhat stressful drive, but I jumped in the shower and then got ready to head out with Rooney to start our day.
So what do we got here, Rooney? We're going to lunch. Since we missed breakfast, we missed brunch. We're about to miss lunch.
We're going to No Boost Incorporated.
Okay.
Then lunch. Because you've been waiting for us all day.
The stressful trip I took last night is nothing compared to the trip I'm about to take
Just breathe.
Oh, that's my mother's car.
with Rooney driving.
Hey, Rooney, there's a stop sign there, guy.
It's called Stoptional.
According to Rooney, turn lanes are optional also.
What about the freaking turn lane that you're not in? Look, everybody else here stops at stop signs, Rooney. Not Rooney.
I don't have time for... Is it driver's ed or what? I feel like you're my instructor. Hold on, I'll make sure I do a complete stop. It's clear.
Oh my God. Do you know this guy?
Yeah.
Do you ride with him often? Is it always like this?
Yep.
Hey, by the way, I used your toothbrush this morning. I hope you don't mind.
That's fine.
I didn't brush my teeth with it though. Rooney, you drive like a madman.
We made it, right?
Welcome to Bomb Squad Performance, owned by Tyler Schnabel.
We're going to Brenner.
What's up there, Dirk?
After exchanging pleasantries, Tyler invited us to Cans. I thought that was a strange name for a restaurant until I got inside. It didn't take too long to figure out that Cans is a lot like Hooters or Twin Peaks. Except the food was actually really good, and the scenery was even better. Take it from me, if you ever go out to dinner with Tyler No Boost, definitely trust his judgment when picking out where to go. However, the company that he keeps can be questionable at best.
Yeah, he's a little limp wristed.
After lunch, Rooney decided to take me sightseeing, not far from his house.
Where are we at, Rooney?
We are at Bellport Dock.
Bellport Dock?
Yeah.
And what's out there? Is that Fire Island?
This is the Great South Bay. That's Fire Island. Over there is Ho Hum Beach. That way is Davis Park. Cherry Grove.
This is the spot, huh?
Yeah, this is where all the preppies hang out in Bellport. These aren't my kind of people. I'm just bringing around the sightseeing.
You don't say.
I don't belong here.
The village of Bellport has pretty tight security, We got run out of there not long after I shot this drone footage. Looking back on the situation, I think this might be where Rooney takes all his girls to make out in the parking lot. What do you think?
I'm impressed. You're a pretty good operator.
Don't let my brother hear that.
I'm pretty impressed. You were up in the clouds.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Later on Friday afternoon, it was time to take my truck down to Tyler's shop and hopefully get this front frame and small block Chevy loaded on the back of the truck and tied down safely. It turns out that was more of a job than I thought it would be. You see, Tyler's place is pretty crowded with Mustangs, but there is one car up in the shop that I was highly impressed with. This 70 SS Nova that he's bought is clean, and I mean clean. Far too nice for Tyler. Technically, he's the third owner, and clearly the second owner never intended to let this car go. 59,000 miles, not for sale. But here it is. Tyler's gotten his hands on it. He just wasn't quite happy with what was under the hood. And after a short 2-week stay in the shop, this Nova has had the engine removed as well as the front frame. And now here it sits with no engine, transmission, or front frame and suspension. Tyler, what in the are you doing?
Nothing.
What are you doing?
Nothing. Me? Just hanging around.
Destroying a beautiful car, one piece at a time.
Yeah, I'm buying it one piece at a time. I'm gonna get it one way or the other. Hey, I'll take 2 randoms when it comes up, okay?
No, I figured, and it's a beautiful car, but it's just not my style.
Yeah. So this thing that's the original paint,
Original paint,
original top,
original top,
14-inch rallies,
the original,
gold bucket seat interior
all-
console. Yeah, the whole thing.
Messed it all up.
The car's from Idaho. It was driven to where? It came from Idaho to Pennsylvania. They drove it out here,
Yep.
and then it got within striking distance of no boost.
Snatchies. Yeah, it's got the original everything. You can see the red oxide primer in the quarters, the floors, everything. And then just drove too nice. I had to take it apart. Ordered some RC Com, some Hot Boys, and the front clip, the Rhodes Rad support.
Yeah.
Just got to get a power plant for it. I haven't decided yet.
Got a 12-bolt,
12
strange
bolt,
rear end?
Strange 12 bolts, strange Hot Boys. We got the whole strange pack going into it.
So now first things first, Joanna helped us start moving all the cars out of the shop to make room to bring the frame rails in from outside so we can set the engine down on top of the frame rails, bolt it in, and then set the frame rails on the back of my dually. It sounds like a pretty simple project.
You're gonna buy this thing one piece at a time, huh?
And it was going to be until Tyler knocked the start capacitor off the motor on the lift and shorted out not only the capacitor, but the bump button as well. So I took charge of making temporary repairs.
Not rated for the current draw that you're about to put on. If this can hold 2,000 horsepower,
no, you don't get it. Unfortunately, the only thing we had laying around was a trans brake button. I installed it begrudgingly as a temporary repair. However, I feel as though it's probably going to be permanent. Are you filming this?
Sure am.
What do you think, Joe? We doing a good job?
You guys are doing good, yeah.
How do you feel about this?
Get it out of here. But I'm mad about that.
beautiful.
Once we had the engine bolted into the subframe and the subframe up on the lift, the next step was to get my dually backed into Tyler's shop without scratching it or denting it, and hopefully get the subframe set down on the bed without dropping it, scratching it, and hopefully without anyone getting injured or setting fire to the shop. Saturday morning backed up the worst night of sleep in my life with the second worst night of sleep in my life, and also the second day of waking up to an alarm clock that I didn't set. I was feeling pretty rough after 2 nights on Rooney's hide-a-bed, but the good news is the sun has finally come out for the first time on this trip. I got a shower, packed up all my stuff, and then it was time to say goodbye to everybody before I leave for New Jersey. Now, Tyler and Rooney had warned me that getting off the island was going to be terrible due to traffic, but according to my GPS, it's not looking too bad, or so I thought. I noticed that my directions took me down a state parkway, and in Ohio that doesn't mean anything. But on Long Island, it means no commercial vehicles, for obvious reasons. Some of the overpasses are shorter than the garage doors on our shop.
So I just got pulled over by the state police, and they explained to me that I am not allowed to be on the parkway in this truck. Even though it's not a commercial vehicle, can't be on the parkway with this truck. So I got to find another route to get where the hell I'm going that doesn't include state parkways. So I'm on 27, stoplight to stoplight, mile after mile after mile, because if I get on a parkway, I'm in trouble.
At the light, turn right onto North Grove Street.
Driving through Freeport on 27 was frustrating to say the least, with my phone telling me to get on the parkway every time there was an opportunity to turn right. I'm just trying to get to the Verrazano Bridge, and at this rate, it's going to take forever. So with about 5 miles left of stop-and-go traffic, I made the executive decision to go ahead and jump on the parkway and make a run for the bridge and the New Jersey Turnpike, figuring if I get caught, I'll just plead stupidity, which worked out pretty well for me the last time, but thankfully I didn't get caught before I was on Staten Island. I've never been so happy to be out of a state in my entire life, and especially out of New York City.
All right, so we finally got the heck off of Long Island, and I'm on the New Jersey Turnpike headed southwest to pick up my parts for the Monte Carlo. Now, this guy, I don't think he really wants a lot of video taken. Very private individual. He has a major stash of original new old stock GM parts. Don't know how much of this I'm going to get to show, but I'll do my best.
Initially, when I talked to this guy in New Jersey for the first time about stopping by and picking up these parts, he seemed a little reluctant because after all, he has no idea who I am or anything about what I'm doing. So I told him I had a YouTube channel and sent him a link. That way at least he has some idea who I am and what kind of person he's dealing with. So by the time I got there, he felt a little more comfortable, and to my surprise, he'd been holding back a little bit of information about just exactly what all he's got stashed away in his shop behind his house. Don is not only a collector of new old stock GM parts, he's also a car collector as well. I think it's safe to say that Don and I both share a love for new old stock parts, mint condition service equipment, and obviously 65 Chevelles. So Don,
Yes.
you are quite a collector. I have never in my life seen a more wonderful horde of original in-the-box GM parts in my life.
Well, there's guys out there that have more than me, but I have a fair amount. Yeah.
You have a fair amount.
Yeah, I have a pretty fair amount. Yes, I do.
So what have you got laying here for me?
This is what appears to be an NOS or New Takeoff's 1978 Monte Carlo grill. Very, very nice. It's got a couple little tiny marks on it that just could be, manufacturing or age flaws or, like I said, it could have been a new takeoff, but it appears to be new.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's a really nice piece.
And you have the holy grail for me today.
I do.
It appears.
Yes.
Okay, so listen. These are extremely hard to find. I'm not trying to talk your price up for you, okay?
Not going to raise the price.
But listen, so I've been looking for these all over. And I found the right rear, believe it or not, in Venezuela.
That's crazy.
And it just arrived, shipped to my house the day I left to go to New York City or Long Island. And I thought I found a left rear, and then you told me it's a right rear. I'm like, well, okay. We get here, and it's a left rear in the box, marked right rear.
Still in the GM box.
Still in the GM box. Now, what are the odds?
But there's the telltale. Left hand.
That's it.
It's the driver's side.
Now, let me ask you something, Don. What are the odds that in the 1970s, 77, 78, someone put the left-hand taillight bezel in a right-hand box, and that it just so happens to be here in, where is this, Woodsville, New Jersey? Swedesboro,
Yeah.
New Jersey. In the box when I roll up here, and we thought it was a right hand, and now it's the bezel I need.
Now,
That's crazy.
I've seen stuff mismarked by GM in the past, But the realization is this also came out of a body shop. I know where this came from.
Okay.
So it's possible that when they put it in the box, they put it in the wrong box.
Ah.
A lot of times body shops would buy new parts to fix a car. And by the time they got around to doing it, they found nice used stuff that was like a year old off of a car that had been crashed in the front. And they would buy everything from the junkyard and put it on there. And this stuff would just end up in the loft at the body shop. So that's how we find a lot of this stuff.
So you were telling me that you used to work for a GM dealership back in the day?
Yeah, from 78 to 81, yeah.
And at some point, like in 77, you mentioned something about they would send a cart out or something?
Yes. When you ordered your parts from GMPD up in Michigan, you would order it, and within, 3-4 days, a week, whatever, you would get your pad order in. And they would deliver it in a big cage, big rolling cage. It was like 6 feet tall and 3 feet wide and 3 feet square. And all your parts would just be put in there. And then what you did was every day when you signed on the computer, if you had a part that went off inventory, it would tell you that you have an obsolete part in stock and the location of it, and you would grab it. You could take that, and after you emptied your cage out, you could send that back with the return form, and you would get 90% of your money back from GM.
Wow.
They did that to encourage the dealers to stock more stuff.
Basically, if I had a Chevrolet dealer back in the 70s, a little mom and pop Chevrolet dealer, and for example, that 1978 taillight bezel is a 1 year only.
Correct. Yeah.
So once that part became obsolete, and I had this thing laying on the shelf, and I wanted to get my money back out of it because now it's obsolete, I would just throw it in a cage. It would go back to GM. They would give me 90% of my money back.
Correct.
But that would end up destroyed.
It would be destroyed. Probably about 10 years ago, we got into a GM returns warehouse up in Cranberry, New Jersey that they closed.
Oh my gosh.
And it was full of obsolete parts that had been returned by dealers, and this is where it ended up. It all got reposited there.
Wow.
And when they closed it, they had to scrap all the stuff, and they were taking these type of things, putting them on a table, hitting them with a hammer and smashing them, and throwing it all into a dumpster. They had metal dumpsters, they had plastic dumpsters, they had sheet metal stuff. And a young guy that worked there had told me about it, and he said, you got to come up this Friday because my boss said anything I could get out Friday.
Wow.
He didn't know nothing.
So some of this survived because some of the guys that worked at the warehouse knew someday this stuff is going to be very special.
Well, they knew it would be, but the biggest problem was they weren't allowed to, because if they got caught doing that, GM would fire them.
Right.
I mean,
they were risking their livelihood.
They were
to save some of these parts.
They definitely were. Like I said, this kid, his boss told him whatever he could get out that day, because that guy was going to be out that day. He didn't know nothing.
Nice.
So,
well, thank you to that guy, whoever he was, and the guy that risked his job. Like, this stuff you cannot find.
Nope, that's the wheel opening moldings. That's the left front.
That is the one I need.
That's the driver's side front.
That's the one I need. Mine has a little dent in it right there.
Yep, that's the left front. This is that's a right rear. And that's the left rear molding that jacks into this molding here that goes back to the rear bumper.
Brand new.
All new old stock stuff. Yeah.
Don.
Yes.
It has been an absolute pleasure spending the afternoon with you. Thank you so much. When I put that post up on Facebook asking if anybody had that was like looking for a needle in a haystack.
Right.
And I don't know how long it took you to respond. It wasn't long.
No.
I think it was the next day. And I just can't thank you enough for speaking up and say, hey, I've got this stuff, and let me stop by today. It's been a pleasure. It's been wonderful. It's an incredible stash that you've got here. It's amazing. And I'll probably be back at some point.
We have some more.
Or I'll just have you ship the stuff. You ship the stuff out, right?
Every day.
Every day.
UPS. Yep. We have a UPS account, picks up here every day.
So this isn't your full-time job. This is your side thing. This is something you do in the evenings.
Second full-time job. Basically.
Second full-time job.
Yeah, it's basically
so you go to a lot of the shows, right? You go to like Carlisle and
just Carlisle and Hershey is all I do anymore. I used to do Charlotte. I used to do a couple of the others. It just, the last few years I've laid back on some of the shows. Really, the only time this stuff really comes out anymore. The good stuff only comes out at Carlisle. I don't even take that to Hershey anymore unless somebody asks me to bring something.
Really?
No, we don't take the big display. When we go to Carlisle, like if you come see us at Carlisle in April. We're over on O row, and we've got like 8 spaces over on O row. We'll have
Wow.
30 by 30 tent up full of NOS stuff. Stop over and see us. We'll be there.
Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
Thank you so
Safe
much.
travels home.
I am so happy. I can't even explain how happy I am to
glad.
find that stuff.
We're glad we could help you out, and it's good to know that with stuff going on Facebook with all the scammers out there, when people ask for something, somebody says, "Yeah, bro, hit me up. I got it." And
Right.
then you go and send me
I'm
the
pretty
money.
good at sorting them.
Send the money through Zelle or PayPal, friends and family, or Cash App. As soon as you hear that, it's like a flag goes up.
Yeah. You know what? And that's kind of why I told you, hey, I've got a YouTube channel. I was just straight up honest with you right up front.
Yes, you were.
And I said, here, this is who I am. You can go check me out, So you felt more comfortable with me just, stopping
Both of
by.
us.
Yeah,
Both of us.
absolutely.
Yeah, both of us.
100%.
Good deal.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a safe travel home.
There's literally no way we could do this any worse, any more dangerous than the way we're doing it. Rooney's fucking everything up? Look at the wires! Look at your wires!
You did that.